You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
AL Central took 2 of 3 from Philadelphia, the leaders of the NL East. Brewers over the Marlins 6-2. Milwaukee leading the NL Central. In the loss, Miami Xavier Edwards hit for the cycle.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to center and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Big news here. Big news here was the discussion of the opening ceremonies, controversy over whether or not some guy had his
been swayed.
Yeah, some guy had his
either way, it's
Bubblicious hanging out
either way,
in the opening ceremonies.
A turkey neck. What else want to call it?
I don't know. But like, how can it? What do you mean leg meat? What are we talking about here?
The more I'm looking at it, it creates like a bit of an optical illusion. I'm kind of with Raina and
Coop
and Coop, man.
I don't know how anybody thinks that that's thigh meat.
It looks like
I would co-sign with Raina. I would co-sign with Raina.
You can take it any direction you want. Just complete that statement. You're now the head man at the University of Alabama following the GOAT. What would you do? I would be, I would go watch the DBs. I would go watch the quarterbacks. I would kind of just ease into things. I would come out swinging. What would you do? You're Kalen DeBoer. What are you doing right now? I mean, this spring has been good. Summer's been good. Coming off a big weekend. What would you do? So, that's just a fun statement there that you can complete. And if you want to talk to us about that, give us a call, on the hotline at, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That is the hotline. So, let us hear your thoughts, your comments, and your reactions. So we'd love to hear from you, right here on, the Martin Houston Show. So complete this statement. If I was Kalen DeBoer, I would do what? And also we can talk about the big, weekend, both Alabama and Auburn having cookouts and weekends and actions happening. So we can talk about that as well. And then, of course, we'll have Kennington Smith III to join us in the conversation. We'll get his thoughts on just a couple of things from the end of last week that he didn't get to react to with us. We'll see what his thoughts are. I played Dabo Swinney's comments, and it's amazing to me. Whatever Dabo says he's going to get, everybody's just going to go to he's against something. So I heard some guys saying yesterday that he's against this because of the walk-ons. What they did not hear is that used to be 120 to 25 guys. people still don't understand. Yeah, there are some walk-ons that used to get scholarships. I mean, that used to get walk-on opportunities that will now possibly be scholarship guys, right? But then there's the other 15 to 20 guys that can't come out. There used to be 40, to 45 walk-ons. Now you have ability to have 20 more scholarship guys, but 20 less players. So that's what people aren't getting through what he said. So we'll talk about that as well. So lots to get to. X, like I said, I want to get your thoughts on from the weekend, both at Alabama and Auburn. So before we get into those conversations, remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice, be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Take it away. Tell us a little bit about the weekend, sir.
Yeah, it was a big weekend in the recruiting world as far as both of the big in-state programs, Alabama, Auburn, having their Big Cat weekends, and Cold Summer Cookout is the new name for Alabama's end of the summer cookout. I know Auburn fans are probably a little bit happier than Alabama fans coming in today. They landed some commitments, and of course they got Antonio Coleman to flip again. He has been committed to Bama, flipped to Auburn, flipped back to Bama, flipped back to Auburn. So he's playing.
What do you think
that's
behind
a good
that?
Question.
What's behind that? Do you think it's NIL?
I can't tell you what's behind it. Honestly.
I don't think it's NIL. But anyway, I just think the kid he's the type of kid that you have to be worried about even when you get him on campus with the new transfer portal.
Oh, 100%.
Right? I mean, if he's flipped 100%. back and forth already multiple times, will he stay committed if something goes wrong when he gets there? What else you got?
Of course, for Alabama, had some big names on campus over the weekend. A lot of the 2025 commits were here. And then, of course, as we talked about it, 2025 number one running back, AK Deer, was in town. Posted some clips where his mom really seemed to be enjoying herself. Once again, we're on commitment watch with AK, trying to get him in this class. Also, there is some rumors that 4-star athlete Derek Smith out of Southside High School in Selma might be flipping to Auburn as well. But I think I think with him it's more because he wants to play wide receiver at the next level, and Alabama has recruited him to play safety, and Auburn's potentially giving him that opportunity. But Anquan Fagans, who is a big name, he's number 2 or 3 safety in this class out of Thompson High School. He was on campus for Bama this weekend, so that might be the potential replacement for Derek if he flips to Auburn. Tight race really there. Not anything clear on where he's really leaning one way or the other, but I think the wide receiver safety conversation might be the deciding factor.
Isn't Fagan, when he scheduled to go to Auburn and changed his mind and came to Tuscaloosa?
I didn't see if he went.
He was supposed to go to Auburn. He ended up in Tuscaloosa. So
okay, so he didn't go to Auburn. I didn't get anything clear on if he had gone to Auburn or not.
That's what I heard last night. I listened to the Zone last night, and they said that. So I haven't verified that, but that's what they were reporting last night. So that's good. Hey, there's this guy. I guess I just had missed him. and had not seen a picture of him, but he looks like he is going to be nasty. Should have been in the 2024 class. Steve, Mbuma, how you say it? Mbuma.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
The young man from Canada.
Yeah, his D-line commit 6'4", and some change, and defensive edge guys 260. He looks like he's ready.
He's a grown man.
He looks like a full grown man. So, but he was originally in this class, and now he's in the 2025 class. Yeah, he looks like he's going to be something special just from looks, if looks can sell.
Oh, 100%. And it really wish we could have got him here this year, but it might be beneficial that he is in the 2025 class, but absolutely intimidating just with the physical look of it. Yeah, I think he's going to be a playmaker once he gets here. And, that might also, with him coming in with the 2025 class, that might play a factor into why Antonio Coleman is flipping again. You never really know with these things, but yeah, he's going to be a playmaker when he gets here.
Absolutely. Anything else you got from the weekend? If not, we'll get the break here. Transition, bring Kennington in on the other side. Anything else you got?
Yeah, I think Alabama made a really good impression with some of the 2026 guys. Zion Gibson, one of the top corners, as Alabama lost the 2026 commit to UCF and out of Jackson High School, and I just forgot his name. But but Zion Gibson is the number 3 corner in the 2026 class out of Gaston City. He was here, got a couple other 2026 guys that Bama is making some noise with that I think we'll hear more about as this week progresses.
Yeah, we better get on it, man. Auburn's the number 1 class in 2026. Oh my goodness. They touting it too, baby.
Yeah.
We'll be back on the other side. We'll add Kennington Smith III to the conversation. Alan will get you in. Alan actually want to talk about the Olympics. I see that. So we'll let you talk about that. We'll get Kennington in. We open the phone lines up for all of you at 205-342-9904. Of course, if you're on the live chat, you can always jump in on the conversation there. As we go to break here, don't forget to get your officially licensed Martin Houston Alabama Legacy collection and more. Jerseys, caps, T-shirts, hoodies, basketball, jersey and shorts. You have windbreakers, all of those items available at athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston. That's the Alabama Always officially licensed Martin Houston Alabama Legacy Collection and more. athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston. We'll be back on the other side to keep the conversation rolling and add you and Kennington to that conversation.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. If you're traveling McFarland Boulevard from Coker down to Jack Warner Parkway, that's a 14-minute drive with no big problems along the way. 8 minutes on westbound 2059 from Cottondale to the I-359. Also 8 minutes eastbound from Foster's.
You could be feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A little patchy fog early today. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun for your Monday. Showers and thunderstorms will develop during the day. Be alert for heavy rain and lightning. Highs between 88 and 90. Partly cloudy overnight tonight. A little fog by morning. the low near 74. And lower rain chances for your Tuesday. It'll be hotter, though, with a high between 93 and 94. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Want to thank the fine folks over at Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value on the biggest cactus in town. 6 locations in Tuscaloosa and West Alabama to better serve you. Go check them out for lunch and or dinner, and they will definitely take care of you. Been doing it the right way every day since 1974. So go check them out. And whatever you get from that great menu selection, remember to chase it down with a big glass of sweet tea, shaved ice, a little lemon topping off the side. That's Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value on the biggest cactus in town. It's time for us to bring Kennington Smith III into the conversation. And so we'll welcome him in. Excuse me. Good morning, Kennington. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good. Doing good. Well, man, year 2 is upon us. So we're going to get to you and talk to you about, what you're expecting from Alabama as they head into, the first camp under Kalen DeBoer. So you'll get to compare the way Nick Saban did things to the way DeBoer does them. So we'll get to that. But we did have a caller that had a conversation a little different than that. So let's get that in, then we'll switch back over to that. Alan, you're in with Martin, Kennington, and Xavier. What's on your mind? Alan, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We got you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Can one of y'all please explain me what the opening ceremony was at the Olympic Cup? I'm just saying, I'm gonna leave it alone. But you know, the French have a strange way of doing things, and wow.
Yeah, I didn't look at it. I've seen all the pictures and just chose to just ignore stupidity. So. In the name of art, whatever they want to call it. But yeah. You got anything else?
Now, as far as the coach, go ahead.
No, I was saying I was actually, I was at a wedding over the weekend, so I missed the opening ceremony. But like Marcel, I saw the clips on Twitter, and I guess I just don't have the acumen to appreciate what it was supposed to be. So I'll just leave it to those who can't appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll leave it at there. Go ahead.
No comment, so.
Yeah, there we go.
I have no comment on it. So.
What else you got, Alan?
Okay. You know, as far as the difference between Coach DeBoer and Coach Saban, Coach Saban always has a blueprint on how things was going and how we succeeded at Alabama. I think he'll change it up to do it in his style, but the blueprint's there. A winner is there, and he has his way of doing things. And I believe he'll implement a lot of things that he saw that was working. I'm sure he's talked to Coach Saban about what things works and what things doesn't down here in the SEC and in Alabama. But he's definitely gonna put his stamp of approval on everything and do it the way he wants to do it. But there's just certain things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Your response, Kennington and X. Kennington, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, the board's going to do things his way. It's going to take some getting used to. I think that's probably where a good amount of the excitement or anxiety, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on, comes from fall camp is we just really don't know how it's all going to look when it's all said and done. But, DeBoer knows what he's doing. He is a winner. I mean, if you take out coaches who have won national championships in college football, he's accomplished just as much or more than any other coach in the country. And he's only been coaching in the Power 5 for 2 years. So his way is effective, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out in August.
Yeah. Go ahead, X. I'll say my comment.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what Coach DeBoer can bring to the table, we all know it's not hard to figure out. It's just coming in and implementing things the way that he wants to do them. And I agree, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, put your own spin on it. Make this program yours.
Yeah, and I hate to tell you, I have zero issue whether or not he's going to put his stamp of approval on it. The dude's 104-12. Let's let that sink in for a second. And that includes taking over two programs that weren't doing well. Now, he won, people win a lot of those games from Sioux Falls. No, he has 4 years at Division I schools, and neither one of them were juggernauts when he took them over. So he had plenty of time. The team he took over that he took to a championship won 4 games a year before he got them. So, yeah. And I would go with Kirk Herbstreit's words for you, Alan. Kirk Herbstreit said, I don't know if people aren't familiar with Kalen DeBoer, but he's a great football coach. It's going to be completely different inside that building, but that doesn't mean Alabama isn't going to win a lot of games. So, that's my take on it as well. I think he will do some of the things, but I even think the things he does the same will be with his flavor. So, can't wait to see him. You got anything else before I let you go?
Just that, a lot of these people are hating on Bama. Oh, they're going to lose 4 games. They're going to lose 5 games. These people just hate on Bama, and they want Bama to do that. They want Bama to lose, but they can't put no basis on it why they're going to lose. There is no, I'm just waiting to the end of the season for they can, what excuse they're going to use at the end of the season when Bama does have a really, if they only lose 1 game, maybe 2 games, I want to see what they have to say then.
Yeah, agree. Agree. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. Yeah, without a doubt, I think Kennington, as we look at Kalen DeBoer and his team, there's really no reason. If Nick Saban hadn't left, let me ask it this way, Kennington. If Nick Saban hadn't left and we just replaced DeBoer and Saban, everything else was the same at this point in the year, where would Alabama be ranked with Saban instead of DeBoer, just based off of what you hear people saying?
The same exact roster.
Everything that DeBoer is going to take out on Wednesday, if Saban was the guy and he had this coaching staff, the momentum, the recruiting, and ran the program the exact same way right now, but he was the head guy, what do you think they would say? Where would Alabama?
Yeah, I think people were talking about Alabama as like a top 4 team. I think I would still say Georgia or Ohio State will probably get most people's deference. And then after that, it will probably be a conversation between like Alabama, Oregon, Texas for that 4th spot. Again, it all comes back to reception. And this is what I've been saying for a while. I think, and part of the reason of the last caller, what he was saying about people wishing this ill on Bama, it is rooted in the fact that there's a belief that Nick Saban was the juice. And he was, obviously, not saying that he wasn't, but the thought is if you take him out, that Bama is going to take such a large step back because that's how impactful Saban was. And I've said this before, people have suppressed and forgotten what happened in the SEC championship game last year because Nick Saban is no longer the coach anymore. It's like the game didn't happen. It's like it didn't exist because he's not coaching. So, perception is everything. I feel like if Saban was still the coach, people would be looking at them in a different light. They definitely wouldn't dare say that they will lose more than 3 games. Certainly.
I mean, if Saban was at the head, I don't think if Saban was the head coach here, do you think people would be picking Alabama to lose 3 games or 2 games?
No.
No, right? How many times did Saban lose more than 2 games? People would say
Georgia.
How many times
people would say he lose to Georgia, and that'd probably be it.
Yeah. And why would they say that? Kirby has beat Nick Saban how many times, Kennedy? I mean, go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I feel like just because if you're talking about what if it was the exact same team that DeBoer is fielding, they would just say, oh, the key players that made differences in the game outside of Jalen are gone for the most part. That's what they would say.
And the same thing for Georgia, though. That's what I'm saying is everybody act like Georgia has the same team coming back from last year. Everybody act like Georgia lost the. Let me see if I can say this, Kenneth, and agree with this. Would you say that Georgia, in losing Bowers, lost as good a player at his position as any team has lost at any position in the last 10 years? In other words, would he be the Cam Newton of tight ends or the Johnny Manziel of tight ends or, the Will Anderson? Did they not lose that? And was that not the key to several of their victories last year?
Yeah, I mean, at least my playing, like me watching football, he has to be one of, if not the best tight end I've watched play in college. He was like one of the biggest cheat codes in college football last year.
Absolutely.
For those who weren't watching Georgia week to week, I mean, it was like whenever Georgia was in a tough spot, it was like press the Bowers button and it was going to be a game-breaking play. I do feel like I do want to push back on the notion that that it's not the same Georgia team. It is, by and large, a lot of the same team as last year, but they have lost a lot of like their top-end playmakers, like the Bowers, the Ladd McConkeys, the Kamari Lassiters. So they probably have like the bulk of their roster, but definitely like the game-breaking players are not there anymore.
Right, and I guess that's what. Go ahead.
To this point, I still don't see it on the defensive line. That really is what makes Georgia play and operate at an optimal level, is when they're controlling the game defensively at the line of scrimmage, and I still don't see it.
Yeah.
So
to me,
we'll see what happens when
Georgia's biggest thing, Georgia has an offensive line that could be really, really dangerous, and they added a big-time running back in Etienne. But I'm telling you, they lose 3 games without Bowers last year. I mean, literally.
They definitely don't beat Auburn last year.
Definitely the Auburn game.
So it's an interesting fact there. Well, we'll come back on the other side. Kennington, I have to complete this statement. If I was Kalen DeBoer, I would do what? X has a question for you. You may have some things you want to highlight and talk about as Alabama heads into this fall camp. Wow, it's hard to believe Wednesday will be 1 month to 2024 in Kayla.
Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show. I want to thank you for your support. I want to encourage you, if you've not got your copy of the Encouragement Factor, give me one more inch. Go to Amazon.com. That's Amazon.com. Encouragement Factor, give me one more inch is my book that I released about a month or so ago, re-released, I should say. But it is definitely a great read, and tip from the author, read it as a devotion. Find out what kind of area you want to focus on. Like maybe you want to be a perpetual encourager. There's chapters, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, and 17. Maybe you want to find out about, what the scriptures say about encouragement. You go to chapter 18, and then you hang out there for a little bit. And you learn and meditate on it. You can read it straight through and it'll flow, but it is a great book that's teaching a lot of different aspects on encouragement, and you can pull them out one. chapter at a time. That's the Encouragement Factor. Give me one more inch. All about helping you reach your fullest potential. So go check it out at Amazon.com. All right, we're back in with Kennington Smith III of The Athletic. Kennington, tell them where they can find you, sir.
Yeah, on Twitter/X at skinny__theathletic.com or The Athletic on your mobile apps, searching my name or anything related to Alabama athletics.
All right. And as we were going to break there, I guess for me, I think Nick Saban, just on his thing would probably have, him with, that people would probably give him 2 wins over DeBoer. I don't agree with that necessarily. But I do think that people would be having a totally different conversation around, Alabama if DeBoer was if Saban was the coach. And I'm believing that this guy can get it done. So we're excited about that. Pat's on the line. You're in with Kennington and X. What's your question, sir?
Hey, I have a question. I'm going to talk about what I'd do if I was Coach DeBoer. If I was Coach DeBoer, I would go down to Enterprise, Alabama, lock down Grady for my missing defensive end that was stolen from us. And then I would go up to Birmingham and I'd lock down the number 1 corner in the country, which both of them are tied into Ohio State University. Notice I did not say the Ohio State University.
So with Pat, let me make sure you get the question. With Wednesday looming, you would be out trying to get some guys from 2025.
Absolutely.
You lost to Coleman. You lost a guy that has flipped back and forth twice.
Yep. Hey, we need to do. You understand? You understand? We only have 1 defensive player on the front line in this class. 1.
We technically have 2.
We technically have 2. Really? Okay, that's right. I mean, but hey, we need another one, and we need a defensive back.
Let me ask Kennington. I'll let Kennington respond, Pat. All right, Kennington, it's 2 days before your first fall camp at the greatest football program ever. And you have been said that you have one of the most talented rosters out there. Your deepest position on this roster is probably D-line. And Pat said that he would spend this time looking for a D lineman out of high school. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's probably what yesterday for the cookout was like, putting kind of a finishing touches on the recruiting before looking ahead to Wednesday. I don't hate the idea of maybe spending some time these next couple of days trying to scout or maybe put some feelers out. But there are definitely bigger fish to fry right now than locking down defensive linemen, because ultimately, like, even on the Alabama side, these commitments right now really do not mean a whole lot because games have not been played yet. There's going to be players committed to other schools that see their team on the field not look like much and start looking elsewhere. Maybe that could happen to Alabama as well. Maybe they stumble out of the gate or whatever. Players might start looking elsewhere. So it's all kind of fickle, honestly, until games start being played and we see what these teams actually look like. So maybe devoting a little bit of time to recruiting, I don't hate, but definitely I'll be focusing on the team that I have currently.
I didn't say what the team. I said if you're DeBoer, not what Alabama needs to be doing. That's what I'm saying. I said if I'm talking to Pat. I'm talking to Pat. I'm not you. If I'm the head coach, I'm not. I've just had the greatest summer in recruiting ever at Alabama. Ever. There is no summer that can compare to what happened. Nick Saban never had a summer like this. And before that, kids didn't commit in the summer. Okay? So we just came out the greatest summer, and I'm 2 days away from rolling out after GOAT. I'm all about my team and my players. And yeah. So Pat, you know I'm gonna mess with you, but what else you got, Pat, before I let you go?
No, hey, that was it. Hey, I just want to offer it in this class that we're short on D-backs. D-backs is where we seem to be having the issues, or where most talking heads think Alabama has the issues. I'm concerned about solidifying a defensive backfield for the next not this year, but next year.
Hold on, go ahead, Ed. I'll let you respond. Go ahead, Ed.
We have 3 5-star freshmen.
Yeah, and we need another one.
And we've got a top 100. We've got 1 or 2 top 100 DBs committed currently.
All right, let's move on.
And I want the ones Ohio State's got. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Have a blessed one.
Appreciate it, Pat. Oh man. All right,
that is Alabama fandom in a nutshell. It's like we have 3 5-stars. Well, I want another one. Like that.
Welcome to Alabama again, Kennington, right?
Yeah.
It is really.
It's like, yeah, we got through all this. I want what they got too. We need to go get their 5 stars. Like that's Alabama fandom in a nutshell. But that's what Alabama's been. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. Real quick, man, give us a kind of a rundown on your survey. I know I want to talk to you about the fall camp, but you had that survey and you're speaking of fandom. I would love to see what was your biggest takeaway from that.
I would say that the biggest takeaway that I had was over 70% of the fan base expect Alabama to play for the SEC championship this year, which is pretty stark contrast from what, most pundits believe Alabama to be this year. They're definitely outside looking in. But that was my big takeaway. And also over 70% of the fan base expects Alabama to make it to the quarter or semifinals of the college football playoffs. So that is winning. If they don't win the SEC, if they win the SEC, then they're obviously already in the quarterfinal round. But if they don't, winning at least one playoff game and advancing to the next round. So the internal expectations, I think, are a lot higher than the external expectations. Maybe that is normal, but those will probably be 2 of my biggest takeaways.
With you being fairly new to T-Town and this craze we call Alabama football, are those unrealistic expectations or just surprising? So. Okay. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, again, like, I think it's one of those years where you look at the landscape and you might say that there's 1 or 2 teams that cut above the rest, but I honestly don't feel like there really is any team that is like so far ahead of anybody else. I think you could look at every team and say that there are definitive question marks for every top contender. So maybe there are some teams that are more talented than others. Maybe people are underrating how good of a coach Kalen DeBoer is. Like I said, you could put him up against any of these coaches in college football, even ones that won national championships. So I think everybody's got a deficiency. I think everybody has a flaw. So I don't really think that Alabama making it to the second, third round of the college football playoffs is a stretch at all.
So what's your ranking of roster talent? Not who you think is going to win it, but how would you rank the roster talent then, top 5?
I would probably say Ohio State will probably be.
It should be.
1. Yeah. Ohio State.
I would not. Hey, put it like this. I'm not going to disagree with that one.
Yeah. Ohio State is 1. It's really hard to rank them after that. I think the top 5 teams, in my opinion, will be Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Texas. Texas probably would be 5th for me just because so much of what they did last year was about what they did on the defensive line and then obviously having A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. And I just don't see the answers for those 2 things right now. Isaiah Bond is going to play a big role at receiver. Behind him, they're pretty younger receiver. Defensive line, they certainly don't have the Byron Murphys, the Javondre Sweat that I know they went out to the portal trying to get a whole bunch of guys. But until I see it, they will have to be 5th for me. And then the top 4 would be, Bama, Oregon, Georgia, and Ohio State.
I would agree with Ohio State clearly number 1. And then after that, I want to see. I think that Bo Nix impact is underestimated. I think they have a good quarterback, but I don't know that offense will do what it's done the last couple of years. It's different having a guy that started, 50 something games versus, a good college quarterback. Bo Nix was a full grown man.
Dylan Gabriel was pushing 50 something starts himself.
Yeah, but where did he play at? Oklahoma.
2 years at UCF, 2 years at Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's
comparable to Auburn.
What, Oklahoma? Oklahoma is, but it's not SEC. Like I said, I want to see him do it. I think he's talented. I just think Bo Nix was special. If Bo Nix had not gone to Auburn, guys, we would love that kid as a quarterback. You can't tell me that in Tuscaloosa and in the South, he gets a bad rep because he went to Auburn. I watched him in high school, and he was unbelievable. He was crazy to follow his dad's footsteps to Auburn. The guy wins a Heisman probably if he goes anywhere else instead of Auburn. Maybe 2. If he probably wouldn't have been in college that long. But he went to Auburn. And anyway. and that's me defending an Auburn guy, Kennington. I mean, let that sink in. So
the world is healing truly. That's the Olympic spirit. That's the Olympic spirit right there. Everybody's coming together and united under the banner of the Olympics. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So don't expect that very often, but I do make that point. We'll come back on the other side, Kennington, and get your thoughts about what's next for Kalen DeBoer. X has a question that we'll start the segment off with. We'll be back on the other side. You listen to the Martin Houston Show with Martin, Xavier, and Kennington.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are monitoring any major problem spots for the time being. 2059 between Foster's and Cottondale is moving along problem-free. Highway 69 up from Hale County and McFarland from Buell and Coker down to U of A and I-20 beyond. You're moving nicely, light volume on the board, and no major problems for the moment. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. 21-year-old Howell Booth Holland III of Fayette is dead. 18-year-old Jackson Luke Overton of Winfield in jail this morning. That's after an argument between the two friends led to a fatal shooting in downtown Tuscaloosa Saturday night in front of the Embassy Suites Hotel. The pair had been visiting bars and clubs and had parked in the hotel parking lot. Neither were guests there. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. It's free throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, it is practice starting in Tuscaloosa. We're going to get you ready for Alabama's first practice. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll have a chance to talk to Martin Houston and another special guest, all starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program.
Be feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We have Kennington Smith III on with us. Kennington, as we were going to break there, I told you X had something he wanted to hit you up with. So we'll toss it to you, X, to ask Kennington that question.
Yeah, Kennington, when you're looking at what's going on, with the practice starting, what are you looking forward to see coming out of the start of fall camp?
Yeah, I think I'm really interested in the offensive line. I think that was a position last year where the expectations were that was a group that was going to power Alabama to a national championship, and it didn't quite live up to that. I look at this year's group, and I think this might be the group that we thought was going to be last year. It just kind of depends on what happens at the tackle spots. That's why I'm so interested in it. I want to know what's going to happen with Cater Proctor reassimilating back into the program. And I'm really interested in what's going to happen with Will Conformi, Elijah Pritchett. I feel like that's one of the battles that is kind of underrated. I think a lot of people are kind of focusing on the secondary and other things, but I'm really intrigued with what happens with that trio and what happens on the exterior of the line. The interior is really strong, but what happens on the exterior I think is going to determine a lot this year. So that's one of the things that I'm really interested in.
Hey, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, anything on the defensive side of the ball?
Edge rusher. I feel like that should be getting talked about more. We're talking about the secondary being a huge question mark, and I guess I understand the premise, but at the end of the day, the secondary has multiple players who have played and started in big games and won national championships as high-level contributors and or starters, and there's not anybody close to those profiles in the edge rusher group. I mean, this is a room that has seen guys like Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell, and the list goes on and on from past Saban teams. Talented room, not a lot of experience, not a lot of production. So I want to know who's going to emerge out of the room as that guy who's going to be starting day one.
Yeah. And X, just jump back in if you need to. Kennington, you bring up a great point. D-line, interior guys, and the way we describe D-line and interior line is going to be, I think, fluid as we get more familiar with the way these guys do things from their defensive front. You know, are we considering LT and a edge guy, hand in the dirt, or are we looking at, you know, even like Latham from Reform, someone that was at practice and they said, Martin, I'm telling you, he's standing up. And I'm like, what? You know, so the way we describe it, but to your point, I'm assuming you're talking about who's that guy that's going to get after the quarterback. Right. That we see that pressures that. Well, who are your candidates you think right now as the top guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Q Robinson is going to get a lot of run early as the elder statesman in the room, but my X factor is Keanu Coote. I mean, this is somebody who is an athlete plus, and I think, you know, the thing with him is the athletic traits are there and the high ceiling is there, but just having the confidence within the system to go out there and execute it each time and not necessarily move so robotic and just knowing where he's supposed to be and being confident in that consistently is going to be the key for him. So the faster that he can, you know, get the playbook down, get the scheme down, and then, you know, go out there and execute it confidently, I think we're really going to see him take a step. If you go back to A-Day, him and Q Robinson basically split the first team reps. I think out of 28 first team snaps, Q Robinson had 14, Coote had 12. So they're neck and neck in my mind. So that he is the player that I'm really interested in, who I think could emerge and be that, you know, twitchy, athletic pass rusher. So that in the secondary goes hand in hand. You have a shaky secondary. The best way to mitigate that is by getting after the quarterback. But I honestly feel like there's probably a little bit more question marks about getting after the quarterback than defending the pass on the back end.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. Keon Keeley, Jeremy Alexander, big-time recruits, especially Jeremy Alexander. He appeared to be moved inside. Keon Keeley, I'm not sure they know exactly what they do with him. Those two are two big-name recruits that have not broken in, and that's to be expected when you were behind Will Anderson and, you know, the guy you just mentioned, Turner and Braswell. You see either one of those guys taking a big step forward, and in what way?
Yeah, I definitely think Jeremiah Alexander is in a position to take a step forward. I mean, the inside linebacker room is pretty stacked at the top, but we saw last year with the injuries that both Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell had last year, that third linebacker spot was very crucial. To have Treasure Marshall come in and be able to play as many snaps as he did, Bama's going to need a third guy on the inside. I think Jeremiah Alexander could be that going into his, you know, his first, like, a full year of playing inside. He's, you know, a plus athlete. I feel like he'll be able to make a move there. And then with Keeley, I think it's more of a, you know, just continuing to learn the techniques and the basics of playing defensive line. Like, watching him in those viewing practice periods, you could just tell that a lot of it was new, kind of, you know, just coming off, you know, hand in the dirt and being able to strike in the right places and get the technique down. So I want to see what his growth was from spring to fall. And I feel like if he's made a move, and there's definitely going to be an opportunity for him to get some snaps there at that defensive end spot, because that's an unsettled position.
Yeah, Kennington, and it's fine if you can't. Can you stay on for a few minutes to do a little OT? Because I have a couple other questions I want to ask you. And we want to get that out there. Okay. All right. X, you have anything else before I let you go and before we wrap up this part of the program?
Kennington, if there's two positions, one on the offensive side, one on the defensive side that you're the most confident in, what are those positions?
I'm going to go off the beaten path from running back and say I'm confident in the quarterback position. I mean, I'm obviously have really high confidence in Taylor Milroe and, kind of pushing back on my boy Paul about what he said about Arch Manning and Ty Simpson. I feel pretty good about what Alabama has at the backup quarterback as well. I feel like we've seen the growth in Ty Simpson. I feel like we saw the development during A-Day. So it's really interesting. Last year, fan survey, quarterback was the least was the position group that fans said was the weakest going into the season. Now, it's perceived as one of the strongest. Defensive side, who I feel strongly about, I'm going to say the inside linebacker group. I feel like Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell are in a position to both be all SEC guys that they can stay healthy and take a next step. So I'm really, interested to see what happens with those two guys.
Let me ask you this. Jahad Campbell or Lawson has the best year, even though Lawson was picked all SEC, a higher.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I mean, Jahad Campbell last year, again, going into that first year, full year of playing inside, you saw the traits. I want to see him play with more confidence, play with more fluidity. And if he does that, I mean, we're going to be talking about him being probably a high round draft pick next spring.
Absolutely. I love Jahad Campbell. Hey, that's Kennington Smith III. That's Xavier Houston. I'm Martin Houston. Thanks to all the callers, viewers, and chatters for being part of the program. We're going to kick it over to a little OT on the other side. Kennington's going to hang around with me. We'll be back in just a moment. To keep that rolling, go to the Martin Houston Show on Facebook if you want to get in on that conversation. We got a few more questions for Mr. Smith. We'll be back. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, everybody.